Today we are going to be talking about Audition. Shigeharu Aoyama, a middle-aged widower who lost his wife to an illness 7 years prior, is urged by his 17-year-old son Shigehiko to begin dating women again. Shigehiko is somewhat doubtful of his father's love life but plans to move out when he finishes school and does not want his father to be alone. Aoyama's friend and colleague Yoshikawa, a film producer, devises a plan to hold a mock audition in which Young would audition for the part of Aoyama's new wife while under the impression that they are auditioning for a new film, but actually so Aoyama can marry one of the finalist contestants. Aoyama is immediately enchanted by Asami Yamazaki, a 24-year-old woman with a soft voice and reserved yet confident mannerisms. In her audition, Asami says that she was once a ballerina headed for greatness but had to give up dancing after an injury. Aoyama, still reeling from the death of his wife, is attracted to her apparent emotional depth. Yoshikawa warns him about Asami, saying that he has a bad feeling about her. None of the references on her resume were able to be reached and her job history is shaky. The music producer she claimed to work for had gone missing. Unfortunately, Aoyama is so enthralled by her inner and outer beauty that he is blinded by his feelings for her. She lives in an empty apartment furnished only with a sack and a telephone. 4 days following the audition, she sits perfectly still in the middle of the floor next to the telephone waiting for it to ring. When it finally does, the sack lurches across the room and makes gurgling sounds. She ignores it as she waits a few rings before answering. When Asami answers the phone, she confesses to Aoyama that she never expected him to call. After several dates, she agrees to accompany him to a seaside hotel. Once at the hotel, Asami tells Aoyama about the abuse she suffered as a child and shows him the burn scars on her body. Asami asks Aoyama to love only her. Aoyama promises to do so and they make love. The next morning, Aoyama is awakened by a telephone call. It is the front desk, wondering if since his companion left he too would be checking out. He realizes Asami is nowhere to be found. Using her resume, Aoyama searches in vain for her. Aoyama visits the old ballet studio where Asami claimed to have trained for 12 years. He finds that the studio is now inhabited only by a disabled old man in a wheelchair with artificial feet. It is revealed that the man caused the burn scars on Asami's legs. Then he goes to the bar where Asami used to work and someone tells him that it has been closed for a year because the woman who was in charge, the wife of a record producer, was found dismembered. When the police put her body back together, they found 3 extra fingers, an extra ear and an extra tongue. Asami goes to Aoyama's house during his search. Once there, she finds a photo of his dead wife. Enraged, she slips a sedative in his drink and hides. Aoyama comes home, has a drink and faints. The movie cuts to a sequence about Asami's past and present. In one scene, the contents of the sack are revealed to be a man missing both feet, his tongue, 1 ear and 3 fingers on 1 hand. He crawls out of the sack and begs for food. Asami vomits into a dog dish and places it on the floor for the man. The man sticks his face in the bowl of vomit and hungrily consumes it. A while later, Asami returns to the drugged and paralyzed Aoyama. As she walks into the room, the audience sees the twisted body of Aoyama's pet dog. She proceeds to inject Aoyama with an agent that paralyzes his body but keeps his nerves alert. She then tortures him with needles in his abdomen and under his eyes. As she is torturing him, she tells him he is just like everyone else in not being able to love only her. She talks about how he has many whom he loves in his life, mainly his son. She says that she has only him and that this is not acceptable because then he will never be completely hers. Her torture of him, she explains, is to teach him the meaning of needing someone. She tells him that words cause lies, pain can be trusted. She then cuts off his left foot with a wire saw. While Asami begins to cut off his other foot, she is surprised by Aoyama's son returning home. She hides and prepares to attack him. He discovers his father on the floor, turns and is surprised by Asami. Suddenly, Aoyama has a dream that he is waking up and that the past events have been a dream just after he and Asami had made love for the first time. She says that she accepts his marriage proposal despite him never actually proposing and says that she is the heroine of his life. He awakes from this dream to see his son swing around and Asami failed to disable him. Shigehiko runs up a flight of stairs to escape her and she follows him. He kicks her down the stairs, breaking her neck. Aoyama tells his son to call the police. As Aoyama lies in agony on the floor, he continues to stare at the dying figure of Asami on the floor, her neck broken in a way that she is facing him. She mutters things that she had told him earlier about waiting for his call and being excited to see him again. He is overcome with sadness as he remembers his answer to her in his dream sequence about her abuse that it's hard to forget about. But someday you'll feel that life is wonderful. Throughout the first half of Audition, viewers get to enjoy what is essentially a love story, notwithstanding the peculiarities of Aoyama's twisted approach in finding a partner. Asami seems like a deep, thoughtful character, and her slow, reluctant bonding with Aoyama might well find place in a happy, feel-good Valentine's Day movie. The transition period quickly disseminates essential facts about Asami that point to a disturbed past full of violence and sexual torture. In a matter of a few minutes, using surreal hallucinations and morbid scenes, Mike establishes that Asami is not what she seems, and it is virtually impossible to know and gauge people correctly no matter how close you might get to them. The switch to the extremely violent graphic ending is so sudden and jarring that the audience might be forced to feel uncomfortable and even sick. Gratuitous graphic violence has often found its way into Mike's films, and this is no exception. However, the impact of that violence is greatly exaggerated, specifically due to its contrast with the film's romantic, calm and feel-good first half. Mike further enhances the crushing impact of the film's conclusion by throwing in a confusing flashback which indicates that it was all a nightmare and none of it actually happened. In a matter of seconds, however, viewers are plunged back into the nightmare and its realism gets cemented one final time, creating a horror swerve masterpiece for the ages. For horror aficionados looking for something substantially different from the usual Hollywood horror fare, Takashi Miike's Audition is sure to be a cult favorite, with its masterful use of contrasting halves creating a horror impact rarely found elsewhere. Bringing us to the end of the movie. Comment below what you think. If you haven't already, like and subscribe.